It's not for fun, sir. I just need to sell it. The girl's voice trembled as four motorcycles rolled to a stop, their engines growling like thunder caught between buildings. The afternoon sun gleamed off the chrome, off the black leather, off the men whose presence made the quiet street hold its breath. Mothers drew their kids closer. Curtains twitched. Even the wind seemed to pause. The smallest of the riders, broad-shouldered, dark-eyed, with a quiet steadiness about him, killed his engine first. His name was Luke Carter, though most people in his world called him Wolf. He'd earned the name for how he fought, how he survived, and how he kept his distance from everything soft. But that voice, thin, desperate, painfully brave, cut straight through the armor he'd built around himself. The girl stood on the sidewalk, no more than 6, clutching a hand-painted cardboard sign that read, "For sale." A small pink bicycle leaned beside her, its white basket dented and ribboned with fading plastic flowers. Her shoes were too small, the toes scuffed raw. She looked up, blinking hard to keep her tears from falling. "Why are you selling it?" Luke asked, crouching to meet her eyes. "Because my mom hasn't eaten in 2 days," she whispered. "She said she's fine, but I know she's not." Behind her, under a tree, a woman sat slumped against the trunk, wrapped in a faded blanket. Her skin looked paper-thin, her hair limp with exhaustion. Luke's chest tightened. He'd seen that look before, hunger disguised as pride. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked. "Lily," she said. "Lily Thomas." The others, Tank, Blaze, and Mason, stood silent, their tattoos glinting under the sun, watching the scene unfold. They were rough men, each carrying their own ghosts. But what they saw now was something none of them could walk past. Lily clutched her sign tighter. "You can have it for $20, she said softly. "It's almost new." Luke swallowed hard, pulling out his wallet. He placed a thick roll of bills into her small hand. "Keep the bike," he said. "That's not what I'm buying." Her lip trembled. "Then what are you buying, sir?" He glanced toward the woman under the tree. "A promise that I'll fix this." When they learned what had happened, none of the men spoke for a long time. Lily's mother, Clara Thomas, had worked for a local catering company owned by a man named Richard Hale, a CEO with a reputation polished to perfection. He was on every charity board, every glossy magazine cover, smiling like he cared. But when business dipped, he cut his lowest-paid workers first. Clara had begged him for an extra month, just one more paycheck to keep her daughter fed. Hale refused. That was 3 weeks ago. Now she was too weak to stand. Luke looked at his brothers. They didn't need words. They just nodded. By late afternoon, the sound of Harley engines filled the air again, for riders heading downtown toward Hale Enterprises, where mirrored glass windows reflected a sky too clean for the mess inside. They parked in a line like a warning and walked through the lobby, their boots striking marble with a rhythm that made heads turn. The receptionist froze halfway through a greeting. Luke's gaze found Hale through a wall of glass. Tailored suit, gold watch, perfect smile. The kind of man who had never dirted his hands, but made his living off people who did. "What is this?" Hale demanded as they entered his office. Luke didn't raise his voice. "You fired a woman named Clara Thomas," he said. "She worked for you 8 years. You left her to starve." Hale leaned back, amused. "I don't handle staffing. If she was let go, it was justified." "Justified," Luke repeated quietly. "She begged for one more paycheck. You told her she was replaceable." "That's business," Hale said, shrugging. Luke's jaw flexed. "No," he said. "That's greed." He pulled a small envelope from his vest and tossed it on the desk. Hale frowned, opened it, and froze. Inside were photos. His company's kitchen staff working 16-hour shifts, unsafe food storage, falsified reports, all courtesy of a few well-placed friends in the union. "Seems like your business isn't as clean as your reputation," Luke said softly. "You're going to fix this. You're going to pay what you owe. And you're going to make sure Clara and her daughter never go hungry again." Hale's face drained of color. "Or what?" Luke leaned closer, eyes steady. "Or we let the world see who you really are." When they left the building, the sun had started to dip behind the glass towers. Luke didn't look back. He didn't need to. Justice wasn't about revenge. Sometimes it was just about restoring balance, about reminding men like Hale that not everyone stayed silent. That evening, Clara woke to find a basket of groceries by her side, an envelope of cash, and a note written in careful block letters. "You don't owe anyone. You earned this. Elsie." Lily ran her fingers over the pink bicycle and smiled through her tears. For the first time in a long while, Luke Carter rode home feeling like maybe the world still had room for a little bit of good. Luke set the battered cardboard sign on Richard Hale's immaculate glass desk. The edges were creased, the letters uneven and smudged by small hands. "That," he said quietly, his voice carrying more weight than any threat, "is what your greed cost." Hale's jaw tightened. The sign looked absurd sitting there among polished awards, crystal pens, and framed certificates of philanthropy. But the longer he stared at it, the more it unsettled him. Luke didn't look away. He told him about the little girl on the curb, about her pink bicycle, her mother starving under a tree, and the courage it took for a child to sell her last toy just to buy bread. Hale tried to keep his composure. "You don't understand," he said stiffly. "It's not personal. It's business. Layoffs happen. Business." Luke cut in, his tone low but sharp enough to draw blood. "Business doesn't leave a woman and her kid hungry. Business doesn't look into someone's eyes and call them replaceable." The other men, Tank, Blaze, Mason, stood silently behind him. Their presence filled the room, not with menace but with something heavier, conviction. The kind of moral weight that made even powerful men feel small. Hale opened his mouth, then shut it again. His gold watch caught the light, but the confidence behind it cracked. Luke leaned forward, resting his tattooed hands on the desk. "We're not here to break you, Hale. You've already done that yourself. We're here to remind you there's still a way to fix it." "And what's that supposed to mean?" Hale muttered, his voice faltering. "It means you don't get to buy forgiveness," Luke said. "But you can earn a little decency back. You can make things right." For a long moment, the office was silent except for the faint hum of city traffic outside. Then Luke stood, turning toward the door. "Do something good," he said without looking back. For once. By the time the sun dipped behind the skyline, word had spread. No one knew how it started or why, but the Hale Foundation suddenly announced a massive donation, covering a year of groceries for struggling families, hospital debt for single parents, and reemployment programs for those laid off during the last round of cuts. The company's PR team called it an initiative of compassion. But in quiet corners of the town, people whispered that it wasn't charity, it was conscience catching up. Only 4 men on motorcycles and a little girl with a pink bicycle knew the truth. That evening, when the engines rumbled softly back onto that same quiet street, Lily came running, barefoot on the pavement, her laughter breaking through the twilight. Her mother, Clara, stood now, frail but upright, a spark of strength flickering behind her tired eyes. Luke parked beside the old oak tree and stepped off his bike. The air smelled like cut grass and hope. Clara tried to speak, her voice trembling. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. He shook his head. "You don't owe us anything. Just promise you'll keep fighting." Her hand brushed over Lily's hair as she nodded. They shared a simple meal that night, bread, soup, and laughter that felt like sunlight after a storm. The bikers sat on the grass with the little girl who'd once tried to sell her bicycle to save her mother, and the cardboard sign rested folded in her lap. As the last light faded, it glowed faintly gold, reflecting off the chrome of their bikes. For a rare, fragile moment, the world felt like it had balanced itself again. Sometimes kindness doesn't come from saints or sermons. Sometimes it roars in on 2 wheels, carrying men who've been broken by life, but still remember what it means to care. And if you were in Luke Carter's place, maybe you'd have done the same. Because in a world that often forgets compassion, one act of courage can still make it impossible to ignore.